usually nothing takes precedent over Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes talking football. She is allowed entry here in a way that usually wouldn't be stopped for anyone or anything. However, Chris Cody has informed me that Christine Lisi, Bills fan, one of our favorite people, has evidently talked trash. She's been asked to talk trash. I don't think she's going to be very good at talking trash. She has sent us something that I have not heard yet.
I will admit, there was no asking in this instance. We have in the past on Bills Dolphins days been like, hey, you want to come on, blah, blah, blah. I just got an email, and it's got a sound clip, and I'm playing it.
All right, have you heard it?
I have not, but Christine brings it.
All right, let's see what we've got.
An 11-2 overall record, 3,715 yards passing, 658 yards rushing, 41 total touchdowns for Billy's favorite Buffalo Bill, Joshua Patrick Allen. Consider the last several years ongoing payback for the 1970s. Yeah, I got 2 words for you guys tonight for the game. Go Bills.
Terrible.
Although I thought of 2 others first.
Terrible.
And by the way, even though the other AFC East teams drive me nuts, I still hate the Dolphins the most.
Burn.
Okay.
What do you think the 2 words she thought of were initially?
Mina, what do you make of the last 30 games of Tua being better statistically than the last 30 games of Josh Allen?
I think that this Miami offense is a wagon. And I think they're so explosive. It's so well schemed. They take advantage of all the speed, all the stuff we talk about, that statistically, it's not that surprising to me that they've been so good. Obviously, when you slice that a few different ways, cold weather, stronger opponents, it probably looks different. But I say all that, by the way, expecting the Dolphins to win tonight. So take it with a grain of salt.
Why do you expect that?
Few reasons. One of which is I just think it's a matchup with the Miami offense versus the Buffalo defense that favors the Dolphins. There's a lot of concern about the Dolphins, injuries to their running backs. Sounds like Devon Achane's going to play. But the bigger concern I have, and I think the bigger injury, is the Bills not having their starting nickel, Taron Johnson, who's one of the 2 or 3 best nickels in all of football. He's the stalwart member of that secondary that's undergone, obviously, a lot of change with Poyer, by the way, now across it's a little Jordan Poyer revenge game. And you're going up against a Miami offense that absolutely loves to attack, not just downfield, but between the hashes. That Bills defense, the spine of it is not what it used to be with the linebackers and safeties and so much change there. It just feels like they don't match up well with this high-powered Miami passing attack.
I was telling Stugotz yesterday that I generally don't believe that defense travels from year to year, where you can guarantee or feel like the Jets' defense this year is going to be just as good as it was last year. What do you believe there? What do you believe to be true there? Not about the Jets, just in general.
Oh, you're 100% right. That statistically, that has been shown, Dan, that it is a lot harder to to sustain elite defensive play year after year after year versus offenses. When you look at the top offenses in the NFL, you see a lot of the same names season to season. And I think a lot of that is just because play caller and quarterback matter so much. But defensively, it's very hard to do. And I think that was my big takeaway from Monday Night Football. I thought Aaron Rodgers largely looked fine, but the case for the Jets being a legit contender was, we've got this Super Bowl team. They're fantastic. The defense is a top 3 in the NFL. We've just been held back by crappy quarterback play. If we get competent quarterback play, we will be contenders. Well, you got competent quarterback play, but everything else around Rodgers, skill players, play calling, defense, seems to have, either in the case of the defense, taken a step back, or the offense not being up to snuff. I mean, the contrast between them and San Francisco, just on a team basis, was stark, and a reminder that expecting a great defense to be top 3 year after year after year, it's actually really, really difficult.
Can you explain to us the level of mismanagement involved? Speaking of the Jets, on multiple league executives now believing that the Jets are going to need to explore trading Hassan Reddick because that contract impasse has no end in sight, and they traded for him knowing he wanted an extension, and now they don't have a choice, these executives are saying.
I would say in the Jets defense there, and I think it's worthy of a ton of criticism. They obviously bungled this whole thing on a human perspective. They traded for him knowing, like you said, that he wanted the new contract. There aren't many players willing to do what Hassan Reddick is doing right now. I mean, the number of just the sheer dollar figure, I think it's up to like $5 million or something that he has given up. There's a reason why, even when you have players agitating for new contracts, they're rarely willing to sit out games and sacrifice checks the way Hassan Reddick is doing. Now, they obviously clearly misplayed it because they didn't anticipate that he would act this way that he would stand on business, as the kids say, to the degree that he is doing. So that is fully on Joe Douglas. But this is a pretty unusual situation. It is not something that we see happen a lot in football.
Hey, Mina, happy belated birthday. Thank you for joining us. It looked like the gulf after 1 week in the AFC, granted small sample, the gulf between Kansas City and everybody else might have gotten bigger because of how disappointing the efforts were between, you talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dolphins were lackluster. I guess maybe the Ravens have the strongest argument, but the Bills don't look the same. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that it was very obvious that Chiefs are still at the top of the heap, and it's scary when you consider the fact that they won the Super Bowl last year, probably with the worst offense we'll ever see with Patrick Mahomes. And so if you're watching Baltimore, the whole time I was thinking, God, last year was your shot. Like last year was when you guys had him, and it's not just the Ravens, it's the rest of the AFC. I will say this, though. I think this Ravens team is going to be better at the end of the season than they were week one. And week one, they took the Chiefs to the very end, right? They were a foot size away from tying that game. So I don't think there's like a massive gap between these teams. The Ravens clearly have some things to figure out with their offensive line. I think defensively, they'll be fine. There was just like a busted coverage in a couple of plays. So I think the Ravens are still right up there. Pardon me. I do have more serious concerns about the Bengals. The Bills defense, I think, is a little shaky, which is, again, something I expect to see tonight. But when Josh Allen is on your team, you're always going to be in that top tier. For me personally, I still believe that they can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City just because of the quarterback.
Mina, you've mentioned the Bengals and having some serious doubts about the Bengals. Did you see Joe Burrow try to pick up that water bottle, trying to flex his wrist 24/7? Like, I was worried just by those mechanics, right? Is that something to look into?
I did see that video. Watching the tape, my takeaway was not that Joe Burrow's arm has any weakness, because I thought he was able to drive the ball pretty well and made a couple of really nice throws, although he rarely pushed the ball downfield. I think he rarely pushed the ball downfield because of the way the Patriots defense played them. All of the disguise they were using on the back end. We have seen this sometimes with Burrow. The Ravens have done it, Chiefs as well, with some success, which is if you change the picture for him on the back end and use simulated pressures up front, which New England also did, you can force him to take his gains and check it down. Obviously, not having Higgins mattered. The other thing I would say, like, the Bengals defense is the reason why I am lower on the Bengals, because the problems you saw in this game against the New England offense we all expected to be fairly impotent were the same problems we saw last year with the Cincinnati team, which is this: they can't tackle, they can't stop the run. So Burrow is going to the whole team, pardon me, is going to struggle against some of the top teams. By the way, I left out one top team. I would put the Texans in that category as well as that top tier with the Ravens.
Disappointed, heartbroken, and surprised by Dave Grohl?
I just don't know why that would be the chosen medium. It was like that statement that he put out was like, you know, football teams, when like something really, really happens and they're like, we're so disappointed by the behavior of our fans. It's like they put it in like black and white on top of like an image and you can't really see. That's the impression that I got. I just don't know why he did it.
I don't feel like you answered my question at all.
I did not have strong emotions about Dave Grohl before this personally, so I was not let down.
Is there anyone in celebrity who would hurt that way because you think that you know them, but they do something and you're like, I didn't think that person was capable of that? Is there such a person in celebrity for you that can exist? Because we were talking about this yesterday, and I think Tony's takeaway is if you're surrounded by temptation, any celebrity will succumb. He will not be surprised.
Except Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Tom Hanks, right? I think we would all be shocked if a Tom Hanks story broke that he was, like having relations with a nanny or something. Like, there's never been anything, right?
Not yet, but give him time. Give him time. Schwarzenegger betrayed us.
Famous forever.
This is a really.
It's Arnold. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh,
game.
shocker. Oh, Schwarzenegger.
game.
What a shock that was.
Odd game. No winners.
And I think that would be fair.
Wow.
I don't know who that is.
That is a Southern woman that appears on, named Darlene, that appears occasionally on Pablo Torre Finds Out.
And I think that would be fair. I don't know who that is.
It's so
honestly,
strange.
it sounds like AI to me.
Dan Orlovsky says that it's time to take a long and hard look at Jameis in Cleveland.
And I think that would be fair.
What are your thoughts,
She agrees, clearly.
Darlene?
It would be Why is it Darlene? Why is it Darlene?
I mean, just you sound like you're from the show Ozark on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a good show. It would be time to take a hard look at anyone. Honestly, it's not just about like Jameis. I think DTR is still on the roster. I mean, the level of quarterback play you're getting in Cleveland right now makes that offense completely non-tenable. And it's going to be, by the way, a difficult stark contrast this week because they're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, whom Joe Flacco just ripped apart last year. If Watson can't put together anything resembling even an average offense, that contrast, and of course they didn't keep Joe Flacco because of the threat he posed to QB1 who's making all the money, that's going to be really, really stark, coupled with, of course, everything else that's happening right now with Deshaun Watson, with the new accusation and what that might mean or not mean for him and his future in Cleveland. It feels like the end of the road.
I gave up on Bryce Young last year. Did you give up on him after week 1?
It's not great, man. It's not great. Yeah, I feel so bad watching it, and I think what really stuck out to me, watching when I got around to that game was maybe the last game that I watched. It's like the opposite of a little treat at the end, right? Like sometimes I'll like put up for like a game that I really want to watch as like a little treat on like Monday night or Tuesday morning, and this was really just I was dreading it, and it really lived up to the dread. But what stuck out was the way his size really impacted him in the pocket, just the inability to step up, move around, navigate it. It was pretty rough.
I don't understand this little treat thing you're doing.
It was odd.
What are you doing? I don't understand.
Okay. Yeah. So when there's like a piece of work, you got your like to-do list, right? I realized I'm trying to make this in general terms because everybody's to-do list is not watching all the games. You got your to-do list of things to do, maybe like work, chores, whatever. And there's something that you're actually looking forward to. So when you do your to-do list, you put it at the end as a little treat to give yourself something to look forward to. A little treat, just like a little dessert, a little piece of chocolate.
I understand what a little treat is. I don't understand why yours is Bryce Young.
No, I was saying it's the opposite of a little treat. It's little, but no treat.
Okay, but I still don't understand what you're doing. It's not a treat of any kind. It's just a small person who can't play quarterback.
Okay, let me lay this out. Usually what I do is like I'll put off a game I'm really excited until the end, knowing that, like, for example, I was really excited to watch this week to get around to that. I was curious to see what the Patriots did against Cincinnati. I love this Patriots defense. That to me was a little treat. Like, oh, Jonathan Jones and crazy coverage rotations, a little treat, something to look forward to. This Panthers Saints game was the final game that I watched, and I waited, I kept putting it off, and it was horrible.
Mina, does Dave Canales have the wherewithal to help Bryce Young be a better small quarterback?
And I think that would be fair. No, I am pretty skeptical of
His wherewithal?
You're skeptical of his wherewithal? You're skeptical of Dave Canales' wherewithal?
what is
Put it on the scroll.
what makes you unskeptical of his wherewithal?
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Well, last season with Baker. Although Baker looked pretty good week 1.
Yeah, right? Baker looked even better with Liam Cohen calling plays in Tampa. How does that make you feel better about the Dave Canales impact?
Mina, are you feeling now that you've had a child that it sounds more ridiculous for you to say a phrase like stand on business? Because I feel like
I know. The second I said that, I regretted it. Is there any way to bleep that from
No,
the
I like
audio
that.
podcast?
I thought that was perfectly
that would be
used.
fair.
So bad. It was awful.
It wasn't awful. You apologized for it while you were saying it. And I was wondering if you were being self-conscious because now you're a mom. I think you're allowed to say stand on business. I don't think you're too old and out of it. I can't say it, but you can.
And I think that would be fair. It's not about being a mom. It's about being, I just turned 39 last week. It's just too old to say standout business. There's a bunch of phrases right now that I need to like put together a list of things that I shouldn't say, because the second that left my lips, I knew it was a mistake.
All right, put that list together for us next week. Juju, put it on the poll, please. Is 39 too old to be saying stand on business at Batard Show? Kirk Cousins, can you explain to me? You love this part, though. You love the technical aspects of people who should be playing under center and shouldn't be playing under center and should be playing in shotgun and shouldn't be playing in shotgun. So explain to me why it is that everybody was telling me the Falcons are going to be totally different now that they got Kirk Cousins, and then they put up that in the first game.
Well, when the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins, I, like a lot of people, really liked the signing because schematically I saw a fit with Minnesota. Minnesota had him under center at, I think, the highest rate of any quarterback the last couple of years. They ran a ton of play action with him under center, and he was very good at it. Like Kirk Cousins, the platonic idea of Kirk Cousins is this under center play action quarterback who hits shot plays over the middle of the field. So week one, we haven't seen him, right? And honestly, and this is like a weird subplot in all of this, I hadn't heard many reports about his health, his mobility, any of it. So you come out, and about halfway through the game, you notice, and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense certainly noticed, he's not moving. It's not even just like we think about mobile quarterbacks and, scrambling. No, I'm not even talking about that. He is not moving in the sense that like he is not under center at all. They're not running play action at all because clearly they're uncomfortable with even that level of movement that is required to execute these things. He's entirely passing the ball out of the gun. 22 reps in the gun were throwing the ball. And then when they were in pistol, meaning the running back line behind the quarterback, they were running the ball. So the offense was extraordinarily predictable. And as the game went on, you see the Steelers defense keying onto this. TJ Watt is just in the backfield because he knows if it's a run or a pass. And this raises a lot of questions to me. I don't know how you go into the game expecting that an offense that siloed, you don't see that in the NFL, can work against a very good defense. I also think like if Kirk Cousins can't move and you can't generate any sort of run pass balance out of the same looks, you really can't roll with him. Like, why do we not see more Michael Penix in the preseason if they had this knowledge? So I was totally befuddled by not just Cousins and the lack of ability or whatever, but the Falcons' belief that they could hide it, because you can't hide that kind of thing in the NFL.
Sounds like what you're trying to say is Kirk Cousins says skibidi Ohio rizz. Would you say that?
I think rizz I can actually say.
Yeah, but skibidi Ohio rizz.
Yeah, right.
Attaboy, Mike.
Can you give us three names that stood out to you in week one that you're saying, watch this person for stardom, and is Brian Thomas one of them?
You look really good. I like Brian. I liked what we saw from Brian Thomas. I mean, the Jags, they just lost in an absolutely befuddling fashion and folded in the second half. But I thought Thomas Jr. looked really good, especially in a week one where like a lot of the rookie pass catchers didn't do much taken at the top of the draft. Right now, he to me is looking like maybe the most impactful early on. Not saying that'll be a long-term thing, but I think just with the ball in his hands, he's so explosive. I thought I like the fact that they're using him on that play action game to get more vertical. So I was really impressed by Thomas Jr. If you're asking for three names, I mean, it's really hard not to put Anthony Richardson on that list. Total roller coaster. Reminds me a lot of like the early Josh Allen, where just the highs are so high and the lows are low. He's missing balls, but then he's maybe throwing one of the most incredible passes I've seen in my entire life. And I don't think that's hyperbolic. I have seen so few quarterbacks do what he did on that bomb to Alec Pierce. Just unbelievable arm talent, but of course, erraticism as well. That's going to make the Jags like just really, really fascinating. I'm excited to watch them the entire season. To be honest. So he would be one that really jumped out to me. I would say, gosh, trying to think of like defensive players. I think there were actually a lot of players on the Jags. Oh, I'll go Miami. I thought Jalen Phillips I was shocked by how good he looked coming off of that injury in week one. I was surprised he was going to be ready for week one. And he basically took over the football game on defense. And that is huge for a Miami team that's obviously still waiting to get Bradley Chubb back. Third player I'll go is Fred Warner. I know that's easy, but just watching the Jets Niners tape was reminded, oh yeah, he's like one of the best defensive players.
That flying arm tackle that he had,
So
I wish that Joe Buck and Aikman stayed on that. It's rare that you see that kind of play being made.
Mina,
Yeah, I mean, in coverage, just flying around, the punch, he's just such an insane football player.
Mina, it looked like Caleb Williams was just expecting to stroll into the NFL and be like, oh, I'm going to do the same stuff that worked for me in college. And then he found out very quickly, oh, wait a second, these guys are really fast and they get to the quarterback very quickly. Is there anything to be worried about this first year of Caleb Williams?
I think it's going to be a little bit rockier than maybe people anticipated. And by the way, this is true of really all of the rookie quarterbacks. We're seeing that. But yeah, I think your assessment is pretty good. Like NFL players move at a different speed. You can't evade pressure the way that you do in college, the way he did in the preseason, even going against backups at times. He's going to have to play quicker, play on time. I will say, I think the Titans defense is better than people think, though. I was really, really impressed by a few of the players on that defensive line in that one. So I think there's going to be easier competition for Caleb as the season goes on.
You have to pick one and only one to build a defense around. Are you going TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, or Myles Garrett?
God, all three of them were insane week one. I'll go with Parsons because I think he's younger and there's levels to be unlocked with his game. I mean, he's a guy who didn't even rush the passer in college. I think he's like, and rushing the passer is one of those things, Dan, where like you still see guys play at a really, really high level as they get older because there's so much technical refinement that comes as the years go on. So I think it's possible that Parsons, who's just an athletic freak, could even develop more as a pass rusher as the years go on.
Different player, different kind of player, but is Warner fourth on that list? Who do you put fourth on the list of the three guys that I just gave you, where just total game breakers?
I would probably still go with another pass rusher because of the positional value aspect, but Warner is hard to keep out of a top 6 or so because he just changes. I mean, so much of what that defense does is predicated on having a linebacker who, I mean, he goes deep into coverage with like slot receivers, tight ends, and like it's so unique. And they're also, I think linebacker is interesting, Dan, in that there's like 3 or 4 guys who are just so far above everyone else, and there's a pretty big gap, and then there's a lot of bad linebacker play around the league.
Who's a better corner, Sauce Gardner or Patrick Surtain?
I kind of think Gardner, he is more helped by scheme and the talent around him than Surtain, who has been kind of a fireman for Denver for a long time. But it's so close. They're very different stylistically. I probably would go. I think Sauce has played better the last 2 years. Let me put it that way.
True or false? Let's speed this up a little bit. Daniel Jones is a disaster from which the Giants will not recover.
Well, false. I mean, they're going to move on from him after this year. This season, they're not going to recover from him.
The best running back in the sport is blank.
Christian McCaffrey.
The best value at wide receiver right now is blank.
Garrett Wilson.
The best value at quarterback right now outside of Brock Purdy is blank.
CJ Stroud.
The best offensive lineman in football not named Trent Williams is blank.
Stop taking it. Panay Sewell.
What do you mean I stopped taking it? If
What do
there's
you mean?
if there
What are other things kids are saying right now?
the team that is going to fall hard this year that people are not expecting to fall hard is blank.
I'm pretty skeptical of Cincinnati.
Everyone.
Why am I so close? Are you zoomed in on the main camera?
Because the speeding up thing.
Because we're speeding up.
This is your camera that's doing it.
We're
It's not
getting
us.
closer to your face this way.
Your camera is doing this on its own.
Who's going to win tonight?
Not doing it.
She already said she likes the Dolphins. Weren't you listening earlier?
Camera
in
might
the
be-
No, he
segment?
wasn't.
Said she likes them. I didn't hear a prediction.
Yeah, she likes them. And it's too bad we're out of time. No questions about Shannon Sharp. Thank you, Mina. Good seeing you.
That's right. It's Thursday Thunder, and it's brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear about what DraftKings has to offer all throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Mike Ryan, what do we got?
I'm sorry, Dolphin fans, but this is going to come across like it's a pro-Bills Thursday Thunder. Yeah. Sorry, I think the Dolphins win this game, but there are certain aspects of this game that I like and allow me to share with you in the audience. For our Thursday Thunder, the first leg we're cooking up is Josh Allen anytime touchdown. It is a rushing touchdown. Passing touchdowns do not count for this, so we feel confident that Josh Allen's going to run one in today. How do you feel about that, Dan?
I am reeling, I've got to be honest. I went 0-7 on baseball games yesterday. I don't know how you guys do when you go 0-7.
There were 7 baseball games yesterday?
I had over on Brewers runs scored. I had over on Astros runs scored. I had over on Orioles runs scored, and just 0-7. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding you when I say I'm terrible at this. Truly terrible at it.
Well, you're not cooking this one up. I am. So maybe reserve your thoughts. Next thing we're going with is Khalil Shakir. This dude is really good. I think he's Buffalo's number one. We got him over 40 yards, right, Tony? Got him over 40 yards. Now, heartbreaker on his prop last week. His over-under receptions last week was set at 3.5, and his over-under yardage was set at 41. I think he finished with like 3 for 41, just under on both. We got him over 40 yards in this one, so all he has to do is replicate that yardage performance, and we're good for our second leg. Khalil Shakir, Buffalo's true number one. And
was
also
a big loser for you last week.
Yeah, but you did
It's
score.
the worst kind of losing, though, when you get within like a half yard and you're watching that whole fourth quarter just hoping that he catches some 3-yard catch and he never gets it for you.
Dude, I'm like the Tom Brady of missing out by a half yard. And finally, did you know that Curtis Samuel is a Buffalo Bill?
Huh.
Did you know that? Did you know? Well, if he catches more than 25 yards, you win this Thursday Thunder along with the first 2 pieces. Curtis Samuel over 25 yards. What does this come out to, Tony?
Plus 700 on the parlay.
Calculated
it on the old DraftKings Sportsbook. Go ahead and do that. If you're listening to my voice and in a DK state, please do that.
I won a 5-team parlay this weekend on college football. And lost it all yesterday on going 0-7.
Hey, the special thing that I'm doing on Twitter, along with the Batard Show fan account, is I occasionally put the town on alert.
Okay, so are you...
put the town on alert.
Are you doing that now?
I can put the town on alert
You're
right now.
undefeated so far this season.
No, I got greedy and I added 2 NFL picks, one of which, if we pay attention to the line that I put it out there, was Broncos +6. That ended up closing at 6.5, but I'll give myself a push on that one. And then I did lose the Washington Commanders because Cade York, even though I'm not a Browns fan anymore, wants to follow me around and ruin my life. He stinks, and he got cut.
Oh, but wise bet there, a rookie quarterback on the road in his first game.
I took 2 rookie quarterbacks on the road against defensive masterminds, and I should have came away 2-0 there. But we're going to put the town on alert.
What do you mean? Washington wasn't even close to winning that game.
Cade York missed 2 kicks. It totally changed the trajectory of that game, Dano.
I mean...
Cade York stinks. Nobody ever hire that man. Nobody ever hire that man ever again. He stinks. He's bad at kicking. His job is to kick. He's bad at it. Why do you keep
Chris
hiring
Cody,
this guy?
speaking of things that we're bad at, I want...
You don't want to put the town on alert?
I already put the town on alert.
No. Those weren't my put the town
Put the town on alert.
You asked for me to put the town on alert.
You'll put the town on alert in a second. I didn't realize that you'd lost a put the town on alert bet. It makes me want it less.
Okay, well, I've been pretty good at this if you go by units. But, okay, I will put the town on alert.
No, I want you to put the town on alert.
You don't bring in the top U.S. geological surveyist, and when he decides, hey, I got an alert for you, you ignore him. That's how people die. Mm-hmm. That's how people die.
I'm fine with you putting the town on alert. You will do so in moments. I want Chris Cody, though, to create a segment for me that puts me in the pressure position. I've never worn a Dolphin cap before. I'm wearing one right now. I want to now make public bets I want to be accountable for how bad I am at this. So find a way. I'm going to tell you something I'm betting, and we're going to keep track, and we're going to either shame me or not shame me on how that goes. But I've been asking for Gasbag of the Week, and we'll get to it, Mike. At the end of this segment, we will get your town alert at the end of this segment. You tell me how much time you need, and I will leave it for you to put the town on alert. But before we do that, I've been asking for Gasbag of the Week. It's been a failure as a segment. You're not even confident in this sound that you say is dated, but I've wanted. How dated is this Stephen A. Smith sound?
This one is a couple weeks old, but it meets the standard. And I've told you that I don't like the idea of doing this every week unless it meets the standard. This meets the standard, and we've had it in the holster for a few weeks.
All right, let's hear it.
But you do got Juan Soto batting up behind you. You understand what I'm saying? They can't get around you a little bit. So, I mean, they got to pitch to the brother. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got Soto waiting in the wings. So all of those things facilitate Aaron Judge being who he is.
Okay, so this is Stephen A. Smith saying that the reason that Aaron Judge is having the year that he's having is because he's got Soto behind him.
Oh, no.
And you think to yourself, this sounds like good logic.
No.
The only problem is Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
Juan Soto and Aaron Judge have been in the lineup together for 140 games this season.
Yeah.
In every one of those games, Juan Soto has batted before Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge has been getting zero protection because of Juan Soto.
Him and Cowherd has done some of this. When they start trying to fake it on baseball, it becomes something that's like super obvious.
It happens to all of us with the wherewithal to make sure that we're saying the right things.
It was
199 career homers for Juan Soto as of last night, 8th most before the age of 26. Any of you care?
The interesting thing that I saw about Marvin Harrison's mile per hour is that it's the exact same mile per hour that Giancarlo Stanton has running the first.
So the miles per hour of a guy who's played one game more than 199 career homers.
Is
just
that
putting
the
it in
Reaper?
perspective.
What do I just see in the corner there? No.
We were supposed to switch up the days.
We have to do this. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck every Thursday. We're only doing
Scott's
this.
just leaving town every time this thing's around now.
Good work. We got to start doing this
Exhilarating.
earlier in the week. Jeremy, you are first. Go ahead and pick from the bucket. And
Not done this yet. Ooh, no thank you. The New York Giants. Just going to put that back and look for another.
again with the Wizard. I
The
don't
Giants are
understand
actually
what the
only
bearded
plus
wizard.
1.5 points
I will not
at Commanders.
No chance. Shit, the Denver Broncos.
Woof.
That's actually not that bad.
No, it
They
is
can win
bad.
that game.
Oh, come on. They can win the game
The
against the
Steelers.
Steelers at home, but they're a 2.5-point dog at home.
All right, rummaging. Let's take a look
Down on
here.
the left.
That's why Stugotz is in here.
Really?
I got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Ravens. They are plus 8.5. Putting that back very quickly.
Wow, that is picking some crap so far.
I've
from
had
the
some
bucket.
bad
Two-
pulls,
two
Dan.
of
Last
you.
week I had the Giants, who, again, Sam Darnold. Something to
By
it.
the way, I lost last week. I'll be dressed as Indiana Jones next week.
I like that.
That'll be fun.
I got the new look Detroit Lions.
That's
They
a
are
good
a
one.
7.5-point favorite
I'm actually
against
a
the
little worried.
Buccaneers.
I'm actually a little worried. If
I'll
I'm
take
being
it.
honest.
I don't
A
understand
little
why
worried.
this wizard is behind me with its wand and its noises. I don't know what the wizard is doing here. It's supposed to be a segment of death.
Got the LA Rams. And they are hosting they're on the road at the Arizona Cardinals, a 1-point dog. I don't think I can do better than that. I'll keep it.
You don't think you can do better than that?
No, I mean, it's a tough week in the NFL, so I probably could, but I don't. The risk-reward thing, Dan.
Okay, but you want the Rams at the Cardinals.
Yeah,
the Cardinals
Cooper
are
Kupp
a
looked
1-point
good.
favorite at
Remember
home.
when we would all wear gloves for this? That was fun.
Roy, what did you get out of there? You're muttering. What happened?
The New York Jets.
The Jets.
They're
got
at the
Will Levis.
Titans. They're a 3.5-point favorite
I got
at the
nothing.
Titans.
I actually like that.
They're favorite.
I don't care. Okay. God damn it, man.
Yeah,
No.
look at
Did
the
you see
man's
them
hat.
against the Bears? The Bears are terrible.
Look at the man's hat. He will not pick the Jets.
I understand.
What does he have to do with this?
You got the Cleveland Browns.
The Cleveland
Congratulations.
Browns.
Played yourself.
The Browns are
3-point
at the
dog.
Jags. They're
I
a
hate
3-point
this.
dog.
You went
All
from a 3.5-point favorite to a 3-point
Now
dog.
I'm picking.
And they're both going to lose.
I'm going to take the Texans. Well, I'm not taking it. I have the Texans. I will keep this. They got the Bears at home.
6-point
6-point
favorite at home against the Bears. The handling of that was a little clumsy. I'm suspicious of all
I didn't like that.
handlers
Yeah, I didn't
around
like
here.
that.
There was
Picked up two, and I
but
blindly
Billy
dropped
and
one.
Stugotz have
It was
been
also
cheating
weird
for
that you
years.
said. Remember when we used to wear gloves for this?
That was random.
I got the Jets and the
I
Browns.
got the Colts. They're at the Packers. Ooh.
Well, hold on, Dano.
Hey, Malik Willis is
Hold
on.
on, Dano. Did you see that historic throw?
Ooh, they are a 3-point favorite at the Packers. Do I want
On the
that?
road.
I'm going to do better than that.
Oh, wow. He's putting it back.
I don't trust
You don't like Anthony Richardson.
Wizards.
I got the Saints. Why is that Wizard still here?
You downgraded. You got Saints and Cowboys.
Oh,
Should have
no.
trusted AR.
Oh, no. Put the town on alert, Mike. Go ahead.
Memphis Tigers football.
Put the town on alert.
Put in the town on alert. I think they win that game
town on
straight
alert.
up, and FSU
Put
goes
the town on
0-3.
alert.
Yeah.
Mina
town on
Kimes
alert.
next.
Better quarterback, wide receiver, and running back.
Welcome to the Pitch Clock. Here's the pitch, a two-part baseball segment
combining a nostalgic baseball trivia game and an interview with an expert.
This is the Pitch Clock.
An interesting week in baseball coming up, and here on another episode of The Pitch Clock, it's Chris Cody with me. We'll have Adnan Virk as our expert coming up in just a bit. Taylor, why don't you introduce today's topic?
Today's game is a shootout showdown, 5 rounds, penalty kick style format. The list today is top 10 oldest baseball stadiums. You can either give the stadium name or the team. We'll start Chris Cody.
Fenway.
Number 1, 1912 it opened.
All right, so the obvious next one is Wrigley Field.
Number 2,
All right,
Camden Yards.
Camden Yards was actually number 10.
old ballparks. Now, this is difficult because there's a lot of old teams. Let's actually go with the Mets.
Terrible guess.
I thought
Terrible guess.
City Field is one of the
because
newest.
It's not. Oh my
Shea.
God, I'm an idiot.
Shea Stadium.
It
would've
wasn't
been.
just a revamped Shea Stadium. I feel wow. All right, I'm really nervous about that game, Taylor. I'm nervous about where things are headed, and we'll see what the results are going to be, but I don't feel very confident. We have our expert with us now. I mentioned it before. It's Adnan Virk. He's an Emmy Award winner for his work with MLB Network, obviously the host of Cinephile as well, a movie podcast. Adnan, we were just talking before we started recording here, and you were mentioning that there is a little bit of a tie-in to what our trivia game is on stadiums, which is that PNC Park in Pittsburgh, you had never been before. You just had your first experience. I'd love to hear about it.
It was extraordinary, Jeremy. So my wife and kids were out of town, and you think, okay, what are you going to do with that time? And it just dawned on me. It was amazing. I was like, Pittsburgh. I was like, what? Pittsburgh? And I go, PNC Park, people, whether it's Tim Kirkchin or Buster Olney or whomever, say that's the best park in baseball. I've never actually been to PNC. And then as I pull up, I swear I'm not overestimating this. It was out of a film. When I saw the yellow of the Clemente Bridge, I was like, oh, hallelujah. I parked, I walked the bridge, I felt the chills. I mean, I adore Clemente. He's obviously one of the great heroes of the sport, and just pictures of him that adorn it. Walking one way, but then walking the other way, the Allegheny River, the way the water hits it shimmering, 75 and sunny. Incredible. And I go inside, and it's all black and gold. And I thought it'd be a little more skiing stuff, to be honest. Like outside, pictures of Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutcheon. I go, I was pretty sure I'd see a statue of Paul Skenes, but there's no, if Skenes isn't pitching, it was no big deal. Mitch Keller pitching that day. So 12-hour drive round trip to watch Mitch Keller end up being the Cubs 18-8 game. Cubs, unbelievable. This is something they hadn't done in 110 years. They stole 8 bases, ton of offense. It's the only place, Jeremy, I've ever been to. The seats are better the higher up you go. Because I got the media pass to sit wherever you want. So I literally boldly will go, all right, first base line, 10 rows back. And you'll see that kind of usher look. And I'm like, I'm not cocky enough to do one of these, but he can figure out, like, okay, this guy has some sort of media pass. He appears to be important. And I'm watching the game. It's pretty good. I'm like, okay, not bad. I go to the left side. Okay, not bad. I go, let me go high. Press box, seat 21, just for Clemente. Want to take a picture.
Love that.
Out of a movie. Dude, I wasn't sure if it was better during the day or at night. Like, you don't even need to watch the game. I'm just watching the bridge. I'm watching the Pittsburgh downtown, looking at the boats and staring at the river. And at night, it's even more picturesque. And so I didn't want to be prisoner of the moment because I drove home the next day. I went to Clemente Museum, by the way, which is amazing, must have. But I went home and I go, okay, Camden Yards still number 1. And I go, no, like, dude, let's be honest. Camden Yards is awesome because of the mix of the retro and the modern. And San Francisco is wonderful. My wife's from the Bay Area, so I've been to a lot of Giants games. But San Francisco's cold. In the 5th inning, you have to buy a hoodie. Like, they make a ton about the fact it's freezing. Pittsburgh was beautiful weather. I'm telling you right now, as a baseball fan, which I know you and Taylor are, and our audience, get to PNC Park. It's the best park in baseball.
PNC Park is the stadium that I've wanted to go to next. Camden Yards is my favorite stadium experience I've had. That's also because it was my first legal beer was with my dad at Camden Yards, which is a fun moment for me. But I can't wait to get out there, maybe go see a Paul Skenes start at some point. But Adnan, I want to start with pitching. I want to start with the Cy Young because both leading Cy Young candidates have a chance to do something pretty special. Tarek Skubal and Chris Sale both could win the pitching triple crown. That's leading their respective leads in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. So for Skubal, it's 16 wins, 2.53 ERA, 208 strikeouts at the time of this recording. Sale, 16 wins, 2.38 ERA with 213 strikeouts. No one has done this since 2011, when it was both Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander. Both seem like favorites to win the Cy Young. Adnan, my question to you, of Skubal and Sale, which has had the better year?
I think Skubal's had the better year, but you're totally right, Jeremy, that the pitching triple crown is still something which is hallowed and memorable and special. And we know the whole debate when Miggy had the triple crown and going up against Trout, and by the numbers, according to WAR, Trout should be the MVP, whereas Miggy was trying to do something which hadn't been done in decades. And even in the National League, you haven't had a triple crown winner since, I believe, Ducky Medwick back in 1936. And, Ozuna's not going to get there, but he's still a compelling case. And in the American League, Judge is third in average, first in home runs, first in RBI. But it's interesting. Among hitters, you and I both know they go triple crown, they go, RBI aren't valued they used to be. Batting average, on base percentage is more important. Home runs, okay, we'll take that. Where it's pitching triple crown, wins have been devalued, okay, but strikeouts are still strikeouts. Strikeouts have never been more important in the game. So if you give me 200 plus Ks, I'm in. Point is this, these guys both bring it. And I think Skubal's stuff is as nasty as anyone. And watching him pitch for the Tigers, he's got such a command out there. And he's got a little you-know-what in him, like a little FU. Like he's got like a bit of a mean streak, which I think helps his swagger. A lefty that throws hard and throws 4 different pitches. He's been amazing for the Tigers. So I think of the two of them, he's had the more impressive season. But Sale's the more impressive story. The fact that he's going to win a Cy Young Award for the first time at the age of 35 is remarkable. And he finished runner-up for the Cy Young back in 2017, but he's never won one, and Sale's going to win.
I thought his career was over, not just like a fourth starter. I wasn't sure he'd ever make a start again, and he has been spectacular.
I'm going to go Detroit Tigers.
Incorrect.
Okay.
That makes me feel
I have
better.
to admit, I'm already flailing.
I'm starting to flail, too. Yeah. I'm going to go with PNC, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
It is another bad guess.
Ah! Why am I doing so bad at this? This is so embarrassing.
I blame
Taylor,
Taylor
this game
for this.
sucks.
Yeah,
PNC Park
This
opened
game
in
sucks.
2001.
Ellie De La Cruz has a chance to potentially get to 75 stolen bases for the first time since Jose Reyes in 2007. Now, he's a bit of a long shot. I believe he's at 62 or 63 at the time we're having this conversation. But down the stretch, you never know. They might try to get him to that record. Emmanuel Clase looking to become the 6th pitcher ever with 50 innings or more to have a .75 ERA or lower as he's the closer out in Cleveland. And then Jarren Duran. Right now, he's tied for the MLB lead in doubles, and he also leads in triples. Now, the last player to do that was Lou Brock in 1968. And if he can get to 50 doubles and 15 triples, he'd be the first to do it since Stan Musial in 1946. So, of Duran, Clase, and Ellie De La Cruz going for their respective milestones, which would be the most impressive in your view?
I think it's Clase. He is truly in a class of his own. I know.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I like that.
Loser
Hey,
game
I
sound.
like it. I'm not using the loser game show sound. It's on brand for me. I like that one.
Here's the thing, Jeremy, because in today's game, what's happened, right? Closers are devalued. Now they go, who cares? It's only 3 outs. You have a 3-run lead, big deal. But Class A disproves that theory because he has been so valuable. He's been the best closer in the game. Like, he is unbelievable to watch. And I know Mason Miller is special for the A's. I know Haters has a longer track record for the Astros, but best closer in the game right now, I'd take Class A. And if the Guardians make a deep run, he has to be special for them. Their bullpen has been excellent. He's a big part of it. But I look at his endurance, the fact that he does not miss and he's always available. And listen, a year ago, he had a ton of saves, but also led the league in blown saves. So that happens. You'll get 40 saves, but blow 11 saves. Hasn't been the case this year. Class A has been awesome. A .75 ERA. As we said earlier, Skubal is going to win the Cy Young. I think Class A should be a finalist for the Cy Young. That's how good he's been.
It would be like Eric Gagne in 2003 or 2004. And what's crazy about Class A is if you look at his stats over the first 4 seasons of his career, they're right up there with Mariano Rivera. Like, that's how great he's been as a reliever.
I'm like just blanking right now, but I have one in my holster. How much time I got?
5 seconds.
I'm going to go with na 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 na. I'm just filling with a little song.
Has the
2
pitch clock
seconds.
not expired?
The Rockies.
Not on the list. The Rockies were number 12.
We know Ohtani and Judge are likely to win their MVP awards, even with Lindor and Witt on their heels. But the NL MVP has two fascinating players at the top. You got Jackson Merrill in San Diego, who his splits at 290 and 820 OPS, over 20 homers, over 80 RBIs, and a ton of late-game heroics for a team that's needed it in the wild card chase. But then you got Paul Skenes, who we mentioned in the Pittsburgh segment. Paul Skenes has sort of risen as a face of baseball. His ERA is just over 2, his WHIP's just under 1. He's been as good as advertised. To you, Adnan, who is going to win this award? And who should win this award?
Jackson Merrill's going to win. Now I checked the latest sites on DraftKings as far as who the favorite is to win Rookie of the Year, and it's Jackson Merrill. It's not only the fact, as you mentioned, the 820 OPS, but in many ways, he's carried this Padres team when they've needed him. And I think what happened for Skenes, Jeremy, is he was a supernova his first 10 starts. And after that, he's still been really good, to be clear. But he's more like 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks. Still really good. Like, I'll take it. Whereas Merrill has kept on ascending. And I think now Jackson Merrill should win it. I think Jackson Merrill will win it because he's been so critical for the Padres. And the duration of what he's done, he's going to play like 155 games.
Right.
Skenes only pitched half the season. So I think that's a part of it as well.
I believe Merrill has 5 game-tying or game-winning home runs in the 9th inning or later this season. I'm going to ask you for the greatest strength in baseball as a unit. So, for example, a team's bullpen, maybe someone's heart of the order, a starting rotation's 1 and 2.
Ultimately, I'll give you a couple options where I give you my right answer. The Mariners pitching staff is amazing. They're not going to make the playoffs, but that quintet of pitchers is unbelievable how special they are, and all at a relatively cheap cost for them, all affordable. Gilbert's an all-star. Kirby I love because of strikeout to walk ratio. Castillo's a former ace, and they got Miller and Wu. Those guys are awesome. So when you just said unit, I go Mariners starting pitching, best starting pitching ERA in the American League. Love those guys. When I think of heart of the order, when you mention that, I think of the Yankees, Judge, Soto, Stanton. To me, I'm like, those 3 guys, what they can bring to the table, it is so tough for an opposing pitcher to mix and match. But I'm going to go with the Dodgers lineup and just the embarrassment of riches. We saw recently the fact that Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts all went back to back to back and hitting home runs. And I said to myself, like, you're never going to see that again. The fact you've got 3 MVPs in the order like that, and the potential the Dodgers have to lengthen that lineup. Like Teoscar Hernandez is going to hit 30 home runs. Max Muncy's got 12 home runs. Gavin Lux has had a good second half. Like, you start to look at that lineup and go, dude, they're 7 or 8 deep. So look at that lineup. You're never going to see MVP, and a bunch of other stars. It's awesome.
It's crazy to think that if the Phillies and Dodgers end up facing each other in the NLCS, that you can have that top of the order of Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, and yet Kyle Schwarber is arguably the biggest fear in the first inning as he leads MLB in first inning leadoff home runs, might set the record this season for leadoff home runs. Adnan, thank you so much for joining us on the Pitch Clock. And all right, I guess we should head back to the finale of this game.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Good luck.
Okay.
Jeremy, this would be huge for you.
I know. I'm all right.
Makes me feel better that Jeremy's sucking at this because
this is okay.
Feels like it should be easy.
Name an old ballpark.
Yeah,
I know. I'm
when
trying
you can see
to.
the list, it's easy.
Yeah, it's really easy, Ethan.
Easy.
Get out of here in the background. Ridiculous. Okay, so I'm feeling like there has to be one in the AL Central somewhere. And so
All the teams.
I'm going to guess the Guardians.
That's a good one, actually.
Progressive Field, number 11 on the list. So Chris,
I
you
just
need
thought of a good one. Bam. Easy. Dodgers.
the 3rd oldest stadium.
Of course it is.
God, just like I was like,
Oh
what
my
am I
God.
doing?
That's the win for Chris Cody.
So embarrassing. Can we get the rest of the top 10? Can I just, one more time, I'm thinking of old franchises, but then I'm thinking like, oh, the Reds, right? But Great American Ballpark can't be on there. That's a relatively new one. Then you start thinking about the other older franchise. You think about the White Sox.
You know the
I'm
problem?
pretty sure that is not on the list.
The White Sox would have made it.
No!
The entire top 10.
Did
So you guys
are
got
the Royals on this
I
list?
said Tigers. I meant White Sox.
the entire top 10 list. You guys got Fenway, you got Wrigley, the top 2. You got Dodger Stadium, which opened in 1962. Angel Stadium.
Really?
The Oakland Coliseum. Kauffman Stadium with the Royals.
Oh, Kauffman.
Rogers Center with the Blue Jays opened in 1989. Tropicana Field with the Rays opened in 1990.
I am
Guaranteed
quite
Rate
literally
Field White Sox opened in 1991, and then Camden Yards 1990.
I am so mad right now
I
because
almost said Tropicana.
Tropicana came to mind. Kaufman came to mind.
A's came to my mind.
The White Sox came to mind. I didn't think about the A's. This is one of the most. I was embarrassed last week. When
it's
we
hard to do
competed
worse
through
than
it.
what you just did.
Yeah. Thanks, Taylor.
Dan, for today's post game, I want to do a little behind the scenes for our audience. Tonight, big game. Dolphins, Bills.
Big game.
And
double big game.
And Trey Wingo's DraftKings Sports Network pregame show has asked us to do 3 to 4 minutes on Tyreek Hill, kind of the news story of the week, kind of just to show our show to that audience. Hopefully, we're all scratching each other's backs around here.
Our show is sick of that as subject matter. I don't want to scratch Trey Wingo's back. I prefer he scratch my back, and it's not I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's just you scratch my back. That's how I'd like our relationships to work with Trey Wingo and with DraftKings.
Well, we're scratching DraftKings back, and they definitely scratch ours.
I'll scratch their scratch. Their scratch does a lot for
all right,
our scratch.
So while we scratch Trey Wingo's back, I need you to catch it from him. So the way this is going to work, it's going to be a toss. So we're about to start.
Thanks, Trey. We here at the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz have been talking a great deal about this Tyreek Hill story. In fact, we talked not at all about Jacksonville against Miami. I don't know what happened in the game. I don't have any analysis for you on how it is the Dolphins won 20-17, even though Tyreek Hill had an 80-yard catch. That's the reason he's valuable. That's the reason that you shouldn't be arresting him, or detaining him. I learned the difference, even though that kind of looked like an arrest to me. Physically, it looked a bit like an arrest. We can agree on that.
I'm sure it felt like an arrest, too.
I mean, I know that there's bookkeeping involved, and I know that there are legal ramifications and Miranda rights and everything else. It looked a lot like an arrest. If I imagine how an arrest would look like, it's being pulled from the car that way.
How fast can Tyreek Hill drive to the game tonight and get away with it? I feel like everyone will just be like, I'm good. You're good, Tyreek.
He could fly a helicopter the way that Axel Foley did in the most recent Beverly Hills Cop, which is like basically street level, and be totally fine. I also learned because of this that it's not illegal to raise your car window in that instance, which is, don't try that. I'm going to go ahead and say, you may be totally within your legal rights. It's going to get testy.
I learned this week a number of different things about what is legal and what is not legal, and it turns out that nothing that Tyreek Hill did except drive too fast, according to a police officer's eye, not the radar gun. That's the only illegal thing that was done. Talking back to a police officer. There were a whole lot of people defending the idea that you can talk back to a police officer when I don't think that I would defend that. I would think that you need to be careful there, how you talk to police officers in general. It would be wise not to goad police officers into anything, even though I am on the side of not feeling in any way like the police officer reaction after that was in any way sane.
And as we move towards this Bills-Dolphins game tonight, what does it all mean, Dan? What does it all mean for tonight's
transition?
Sociologically?
No.
Like,
for
what do you
tonight's
mean?
game.
Just tonight's game?
What does it all mean?
Okay, but when it comes to racism and civil rights and police brutality, you're not asking me what any of those things mean.
You know what you should try? You say, next time you run into one of these situations, say, hey, I pay your salary, pal. That'll always go well. They love that.
That's not the way to do
hey,
that.
I pay your salary, pal.
That seems
and
like
then
a
roll up
bad
your window as
idea.
you point, pal.
Say pig. I dare you.
No.
Whoa.
I double dare you.
Whoa.
Why are you double daring anybody
Trey Wingo
to do
does
that?
not want any of that.
What do
I
you mean?
will guarantee
What do you mean?
you.
Say pig. What is that? You know what, Roy?
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, asshole.
Be very
What?
confusing.
Wait a minute, no.
That's,
Really?
Optics are interesting here.
Yeah, it's not a great
racist
look.
police
Admittedly, not a great look, but I'm sorry. I'm going to do this as gently as I can.
boy.
You cannot call officer. You cannot be out here when we're trying to show Trey Wingo's show and the DraftKings show what we are advocating for calling police officers pigs.
I mean, it is a big game, though, Dan.
How many yards for Tyreek Hill tonight, Dan?
Why is Roy still in here? I know I don't like the optics of this either, but Roy needs to leave. And I'm going to say it gently.
You can't detain him like that.
I'm not detaining him. I'm just
You're arresting
sending him
me, then.
away. No, I'm not handcuffing you. I'm
Does it
doing
feel
the
like an
opposite.
arrest?
I'm
Yeah,
giving
it
you your
does.
freedom. Just
Knee on
take
my
it
back.
somewhere else.
Oh, really? Okay.
Don't- I mean,
I'm not free in
it's
here.
just-
It's not a good look. I understand that it's
I
not a
went
good
from
look.
like 0 to 80. Not unlike Tyreek Hill.
I care about how things really are, not perception. I know the optics are bad. I'm more interested in how things really are. Roy, I'm sorry it all looks this way.
There is no shot they're using this.
Back to you, Trey. I don't know what it all means. Back to you. Was that good analysis in the game? Not really, right?
They don't want that.
Back to you, Trey. They probably don't want that. That's not good analysis.
TD, Tutty, taking it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.